Tonight is the yahrzeit of Reb Levik, the Rebbe's father.
The Rashab?
The Rebbe's father, Reb Levik.
The Rabbi, Rabbi Yitzchak, the
Yeah.
Rabbi's father.
Yeah.
So I thought you said the Shri is the Rabbi's father.
Chof Av, he was nifter. So Sicha about the Rebbe speaking about when he was in that smicha from R Chaim and explaining it of the Chassidus. R Chaim Brisker.
Yes. Who got smicha from the
Rebbe's father.
Rebbe's father.
The Rabbi's father, wow. And he was learning supas, I can't hear. He said he was learning for supas.
Well, go a little closer, mate.
The air conditioning is right there. I have to speak a little louder, I guess.
Thank you.
Okay, let's study Sicha.
Okay, the Shas der Tate Baal Yilula is given by Rabbi Avraham Lerner Brisker, sie nennen bei ihm Smicha if Rabbanos, hat ihm Reb Chaim stark verhört. Reb Chaim, since he knew he was from Beis Harav, he knew his Schnersen, so he didn't make it easier for him because of that. He was from Chassidim. His Nese, die Shailas Reb Chaim hat ihm allein gefragt, besides for the Shailas which Reb Chaim himself asked him, hat ich Matzir given entferen if ähnliche Shailas, welche seine doch vorgebracht waren von Reb Chaim. So questions which will be brought to Reb Chaim.
He asked the
So you would say, Reb Levik, you answer the question.
Wow.
That's the way of giving Shimush. He wants to make sure that he's able to answer the Shailas.
You know, as people walked in, and he said, you do it.
Right, so that was the way of training, that's Shimush. You're training the Rav to make sure that he can answer the Shailas. Zwischen andere is ich wenn a Shaila, between the Shailas, one of the questions was, a Yid hat gehat a Sukkah in Hof, in his courtyard, he had a Sukkah, zusammen mit die andere Yiddische Schchene. He had a Sukkah which he used together with the other neighbors. They're all in the same courtyard.
Yes.
Und man hat vergessen, machen Erev Chatzeres, vergat to make Erev Chatzeres, is gekommen fragen, was man tun Shabbos. It happened on Shabbos. Right, Shabbos, he forgot to do Erev Chatzeres.
Shabbos is when you need it.
Right? And so Erev Chatzeres, what's Erev Chatzeres is when you have a courtyard, a chutzner, which in the chutzner you have a few batim, a few houses which belong to different people. So really Minhat Torah, there's no issue of carrying from any of the houses into the courtyard. Why? Because the whole courtyard is one Rishus HaYachid. But the Chachamim were masakin that since it looks similar to the Rishus HaRabim, that the houses look like they are the Rishus HaYachid, and because each one has their own house, and then the courtyard belongs to a few people together, so it looks like you're bringing from the Rishus HaYachid into the Rishus HaRabim. So therefore, Chachamim or Masakin, you have to make Erev Chatzeres. Erev Chatzeres, they take bread and they chip in and they put it in one of the houses. And this way, they're all considered like they're all one, and it's not like this. And if one person has a house in a courtyard, of course he's allowed to carry into his courtyard. So there's no different houses over here, so therefore it's all one rishus. That's the idea of Erev Chatzeres. The Shaila is over here that they forgot to do Erev Chatzeres and it's Shabbos, and they can't eat out of the sukkah. They need to use the sukkah. So they can't carry the food to the sukkah. So what are they supposed to do? So Reb Chaim hat sich gewendet zum Taten. He turned to Reb Levik. Als soll passen in der Scheile, he should pass in der Scheile. Und der Tat hat bald geämpft, dass die Sukkah allein ist Marav. He said, the Levik answered in the spot, he said the Sukkah itself is Ma'ariv, is considered the Erev Chatzeres. And look in the other one, on the bottom, Re'ei Shochan Aruch Adam and Azakir in the Chaim Simin Shenayin Tzivav, a quote from Al Rebbe Shochan Aruch, Anshe HaChatzer Shehoyu Eichel Mabayis Echel B'Shabbos, Ein Tzarech Erev Bnei Shehim Ka'anshe Bayis If everyone on Shabbos would eat together in one house, they do not need an Erev. What's the reason? The reason is because the Erev Chatzeres works according to the food. Because Daita Shalodam is almazenesa. The person's mind is for wherever his food is. So if his food is in one place, so as everyone else, so then it's considered like they're all one household, they're all part of one household. So the same thing also by sukkah. Sukkah, they all had a mind to eat in one place. It's not a problem. And the Rebbe adds, he say to me that the sukkah she keva or beisiyare. By sukkah, we say that you're supposed to make teishuk into dudru. You're supposed to make your kvios. You're supposed to live. Your main living is supposed to be in the sukkah. So it's lamish. It's even more than just eating there. It's like this is your main place. So therefore, they didn't need Eid because they were able to eat their meal, no problem.
In other words, they could take the food from the house
to the sukkah
on Shabbos, bring it to the sukkah.
Yeah.
Why? Because all the neighbors are eating in the same sukkah.
No, the same chutzner, not necessarily the same sukkah.
They all have one sukkah.
It's all one sukkah.
It has to be one sukkah. If each one had their own sukkah, it wouldn't be good.
It wouldn't be good. That's what I wanted.
No, it has to be one sukkah.
Right. Each guy had a sukkah. If he didn't have it, so Pesach, he couldn't take it out of the house and go. Only here because everyone was together.
Yeah. Alright, so this is the Maisa with Reb Levik. So the Rebbe is learn every single thing, every Maisa. The Rebbe learns everything about Shkacha Pratis and Prata Inyanim which are connected to the Torah.
Wow.
So the Rebbe wants to explain this story of Chassidus.
Oh wow.
And it's not so surprising in a story for Reb Levik, because there's a whole Rishima of Reb Levik actually about the whole of how many years he was in Galus and explaining everything which happened to him at Kabbalah. Every single step which happened to him, he explains according to Kabbalah. So it's not so surprising. The Rebbe is explaining this whole story according to Kabbalah. That Azayid. Which means everything which is a nigla Torah has a source, comes from Pnimis Torah, comes from the way it is above, the inner part of the Torah. There has to be a connection between the sukkah and the Eidiv. And then what's explained, general idea, the chiluk zwischen Eid und Zweiten, und Mele ich nem chiluk Leshuyis, is blaze mitzad haguf. Und Eich mitzad haaretz und Neshama, aber leweshet beguf beginnet heran. Aber mitzad Etzem Neshama, afilu mitzad Mekifim von Neshama, seinen Kol Yisrael Achim Mamish, and Echel Lekula. This is based on Tanya Periklam Beis. He says that there's a difference between one Yid and another Yid, and is mitzad their guf, mitzad their body, physical. Physical makes a difference between one Yid and another Yid. And the one, everyone has their own shuyas, everyone has their shus, their own place. And even in the Neshama, the way it comes to give chayis into the guf, since it's shaykh to the guf, so it's confined according to the guf. Therefore, it also has sort of this limitation that everyone's different. But then you have the Neshama itself, the way it is above. So over there, all the Yidden are really brothers, they're all one. We all have one Father. We all have one source above. So one Neshama. So that's the idea. So that's the Indian of Avos Yisrael. The way it's explained in Parakam Beis. About a sukkah is bechinas makiv, since sukkah. When you sit in a sukkah, the sukkah surrounds you. That's the idea of makiv, yeah. So he says, therefore, is the Rebbe sukkah matter. Therefore, sukkah is matter.
So the only mitzvah with the mitzvot, but the whole body is mitzvah.
Whole body is mitzvah, yeah.
So he said,
Sie mischt Eis und verbindet ein Yid mit dem Zweiten and mixes one Yid with another Yid. By der Chaim Razal say Kol Yisrael, and the Gemara Kol Yisrael Ruyim Leishel Sukkachas. The Gemara says that a sukkah, Chachamim, Machlekes Chachamim, I think the Meir, Chachamim say that you're allowed to borrow a sukkah. A lulav, you're not allowed to borrow. A lulav has to be yours. Right? Matana v'nes la'achse. A lulav has to be yours. But a sukkah could be borrowed. So where did we learn that from? It says, Kol Ezech B'Yisrael, Yeshu b'sukkos. So we learn out from here that all the Yidden, it seems we can learn out from here that all the Yidden, Kol Yisruim Leishu b'sukkah, all the Yidden are able to sit in one sukkah. Now, how is it possible that all the Yidden could own one sukkah? In order to own one sukkah, they have
make
to.
a big sukkah.
In order to own one sukkah, you have to have a shava pruta. Everyone has to have. Rashi says, everyone has to have a shava pruta.
Yeah.
So it says, Pashas, in order for all the Yidden to sit in there, it's not talking about a one shot. Actually saying it means one after another. One after another. And they should all, if you want to say that everyone has to own the sukkah, it's not enough to buy it. It's not, which means you don't have to own it. Sorry, if that you don't have that you're not allowed to borrow that you're not allowed to borrow it. You have to own it. If you want to say that you're not allowed to borrow, but you have to own it. So it's not possible everyone to own this sukkah, everyone to have a shava pruta. It's going to obviously be, people are going to have less than a shava pruta in it. So it does not call owning it. So it must be that everyone's borrowing it from each other. So that's where Chacham learn out that you're allowed to borrow a sukkah. The sukkah doesn't have to be yours. So lulav, it has to belong to you. Matanam has to hachzir, everyone says, right? And they give their, has to belong to you. A sukkah doesn't have to belong to you. That's what Chacham holds.
Can that be partnership? 1,000 people here, you can give something in partnership.
If everyone has a shava pruta in it, it has to be also yours. Partnership means it's yours also.
Let's say sukkah
Yeah, the moment.
without permission. And you said over there, it doesn't have to be yours.
Well, today it doesn't have to be yours. According to halacha, it doesn't have to be yours. You could borrow a sukkah. It doesn't have to be yours, la halacha.
Borrow without the owner say okay?
Be happy that you went and did a mitzvah.
Of course.
It's not like it's feeling, you're left between and here. Somebody went and
Borrow without owning something is not really borrowing.
The point is,
you're allowed to borrow, fill and anything. Only svarim not, because svarim you might rip it as akbada. But any other chavza shalitza belongs to another guy. He's not around. That's what
the point is.
Lula, we're not allowed to.
Okay, so let's not get caught up on the tangents. What do we bring? I'm just bringing where the expression comes from in the Gemara. That's all I'm bringing it from. We're explaining it through apichsidis. Apichsidis, this that the Gemara says that all the Yidden, where do we know all the Yidden are able to sit in one sukkah? It shows us apichsidis that tells us that sukkah is the idea of achdus, of avos Yisrael, of achdus, all the Yidden getting together. So sukkah, because just like physically, also sukkah covers the whole, surrounds the whole person and everything about him. It unifies everything which is inside of him and every part of him. So sukkah is the idea of achdus, of surrounding the person, and so that's connected to this. So that's why Reb Levik, Reb Levik said that the sukkah itself could be an 8 of chatzedus. Story
this is the Erev. The sukkah is the
Why is the sukkah able to be? Because what's the taich 8 of? 8 of it means that everyone mixed together. The inyan of achdus, 8 of chatzedus. Everyone's able to, right? That's the inyan of achdus. That's connected to the sukkah. So that's mitzad what? But that's mitzad the etzem neshama. The etzem neshama. The Yid's.
All Yisrael, I write himself as that.
Right. But when the neshama comes into the guf, the way neshama, the part of neshama which gives chayes to the guf, and the guf itself, it sort of seems like everyone's separate, everyone has their own thing. We're all brothers, but in the source, our neshamas are all one.
Wow.
But the way we are physically over here, everyone's separate. Everyone has their own body and they're separate. Everyone has their own house and their own place and everything. Everyone's separate. But when we go back to the source, when we go back to so there, everyone's one, and that's why the sukkah, which is not the way the neshama comes down to be limited in our guf, but the way the neshama is in its source, that is not limited. It's makif. It's more. It's encompassing. It's not limited. So it's able to include everyone. There's no differences between people. Okay, so Gimel. The beard is avenit maspik. The explanation is not enough. We just fill you in. The story we're just explaining there was a story that Reb Levik, the Rebbe's father, is either tonight is the yahrzeit.
Oh wow.
So he went to get smicha from R Chaim Brisker. So there was a question which came to R Chaim Brisker that on Shabbos they forgot to do Erev Chatzeres to allow them to take from their houses into the courtyard. They had one sukkah. They wanted to bring the food to the sukkah. What are they supposed to do? They forgot. So the Chaim asked Reb Levik to answer the question. So he said that the sukkah itself, it makes the Erev. Because since everyone wants to eat in one place,
So you don't need.
so you don't need Erev. So you're not so the Rebbe is explaining the connection between sukkah and Erev. Just like Erev is the union of Achdus, sukkah is also Achdus. Like we see, it surrounds the person, it unifies everything, and also Kol Yisrael, Ru'yim Leisha B'sukkah Achdus.
Unity.
Unity. The Rebbe is aber nicht maspik, it's not enough. This explanation, the Achdus was very mitzadem Gili HaMakiv, kommt auch l'chura, der Fuhl was durchem Gili, bechinas HaMakiv, verliert sich der Zier von dem Guf, und der Aras und der Shama belastet der Guf, mit welcher ein Lied ist abgeteilt von Zweiten. This which we said until now was the idea of Periklam of Beis and Tanya. We said that in order for Jews to unite, it's through tapping into their neshama. And the neshama, the way it's higher than their body, the source, the way over there everyone's one. So when that's revealed, so you forget about your body, you forget about your soul, the way it's in your body, you're just tapping into the neshama, the way it is. So you're sort of negating your guf, your body. You're being shayla your body. In order to everyone to be ba'achtas, it can't be mitzad the guf. Because the guf is separate, everyone's separate. So this is only because of the makif, because of the sukkah, that's why everyone's able to get together, because of the neshama source. But not in their physical things. So the question which he's going to want to say is, and this story, we were talking about that they want to eat. Right? They're talking about food. Food is a physical thing. It seems that there was achdus also in their physical things. So that's what the Rebbe wants to get to. He wants to explain where do we find achdus, not only when we go to our source and we're shayla, we're not discussing our body and everything, but even in our physicality, in our bodies, which seemingly we're separate from one another, that over there we should be achdus. That's what the Rebbe wants to ask. Before that, we're going to see in the brackets, explaining more how we see that we're making, in order for achdus seemingly right now, is that we have to go into a more ruchniistic mode, and we have to forget about gashmias. In the brackets he says, when we get at the like we spoke one time, in the Pirush HaPasuk it says by Yaakov, "Vayiven lebayis u'miknei asa sukkos." That it means that Yaakov built for himself, even life, or for himself a house, and for his cattle he made sukkos, means he made huts. Like pens, places for the animals. Sukkah is as loy, so we explained what Chassidus explains as loy for him. So in they'll say zaynetzen. This means him himself, that he made for himself. What's a person's essence? What and Yaakov's essence? The neshama mitirin yanim. The neshama, that's the essence of a Jew. That's the essence of a person. This is neshama. It's not his body. So life, even life, he built for himself at the Gebet Abayis, did his keva. He built a house. A house is a set, permanent place. Which means the main thing by him was his neshama things, the spiritual things. That was the main thing by him. Most important. Well, the mikneyu, and mikneyu means pashtus, it means cattle, but the way we're explaining at the Chassidus, so the gashmistic kazachim refers to gashmistic things, the zayin and blade, Suga kumana. When limiknei could also mean bought, kleine, kinyan. It means that those things which are added to the person himself, which is gashmis is added, it's not him himself. Val di neshama, so that's hanit kinshachsim with gashmis. Neshama itself has no connection to physical. So for those gashmistic things, what did he do? Limiknei, also sukkahs, he made sukkahs. What's a sukkah? It's a temporary living place. Because the gashmistic things were not important to him. The main thing by him was the spiritual things. The gashmis wasn't important.
But when we make a sukkah, we make the sukkah kiva and bite.
Right. We're going to talk about it. Very good, very good. That's in Dala. We're going to discuss it. But at this point, we're saying sukkah. What's the pashtos of sukkah? Sukkah is something which is arei. And we're going to see it has to be arei. And it can't be with the Gemara. We're going to see soon. The Gemara said that, I think it's Rebbe, different reasons why it can't be, sukkah can't be higher than 20 amma. So one of the reasons the Rebbe says it's because if you make it 20 amma, then you're making a keva, you're making it a permanent fixed thing, and therefore you have to make a lesson. And but ein adam lamaila. Ein adam masim, ein adam mesa dirase diras arei ladiras kava. A person makes a diras kava a permanent thing. And he learns it out because it says that there has to be it says shiva sukkah stage of shivas yamim. So it seems like 7 days. It's supposed to be only for 7 days. It's supposed to be a temporary thing. So
this temporary thing should be kept for this week.
So the Kevavar, we're going to get to Dala. That's going to be that answer. But right now, so what's his point? What's he bringing out from the bracket? He wants to tell us that Yaakov and every Yid is supposed to make that his Gashmiya should be secondary, not as important as his Ruchnias. That's supposed to be the most important. And that's the way, like it says in Tanya, how does one person become one with another person? So since every Jew in his source, the source of the soul, they're all one, so the way you're going to have actus is through making your neshama the ikir, and neshama the main thing, and the gufa is tafu. And like he says in Other 5, you go back to the page of 4, in Other 5, it says that his guf is disgusted by him. That's the only way you can have actus. In Parashah on the base 90, so the way you can become actus is if you make neshama the main thing, ruchni is the main thing. Neshama we're all one. But when you come to the guf, so then everyone's separate. So everything's fine. But the Rebbe is going to ask the question. If he says that in hanal from sukkah as he is beginnes makif nit maspik, as inside them soll sukkah marav sein. So warum ich das so mega mit Hauptl sein von Beißen Chatze nicht genug, als die Ansche Chatze soll nicht trachten wegen sehr in einem Gash. Na Adrabe, als man sadaite Shalom chol und machen sie nicht, sollen sie ja seine Metzies, nach Ilo Kulum dar Mesa Beis. Und wie kann Gili von Gili beginnen Samaki von Sukkah Peilen, als die Ansche Chatze soll sich rechnen, kann sie bei sich, aber nicht in einem von Gili Kulum. If we want to say that Sukkah becomes the Eide, which means makes an Achtus, Actus, what are we talking about? We're talking about Actus for what? In what? Concerning their food. And since they all have in mind, each one has in mind to the Gashmis they want to eat in that place, therefore they have Actus, which means the Actus is even in the physical, even in the Gashmis, even in the food.
It's a contradiction from the halach and the kabbalah.
So we have to straighten out.
Saying the food makes the erectors.
Right.
We know the Chassidus that we make the Gashmi Truchia, so punkt verkehrt.
Yeah.
We make after space.
All right, the rabbin's going to work it out. We're going to get it.
Every mitoch shel alishma yetzer lishma. If it's a gashmi, become ochami.
That's our job. That's why sukkah is so much.
We say that about limud ha'Torah, not about eating food.
But you can say it about the food here too. Because the food is gashmi.
The kazait food that you eat and food night sukkah, it's such a matzah.
That means das verstehen behackt in dem Pasuk, the Sukkah ist Teishu Shivas Yam, was von ihm lernt man ab zwei in einem Hafchen. So we find two opposite things from this Pasuk. The Sukkah ist Teishu Shivas Yam. Von einem sein lernt man davon, als die Sukkah Gufa darf sein Dafka Diras Ara. On one hand, we learn from, like we said before, from here that it has to be Diras Ara, it has to be Shivas Yam, it has to be only 7 days. It can't be a permanent thing. On the other hand, weiß man davon, als Teishu von Ayiden in Sukkah muss sein Beifen, as Kol Shivas Hayama made the Eisa Sukkah Sekava. So it's a Mishnah. Everyone has to do everything, you try to do everything you could in the Sukkah. So it's two, on one hand we're saying, right, so on one hand we're saying that the Sukkah has to be a Diras Ara, it has to be a temporary structure. On the other hand, we're saying that you're supposed to make it into a keva. Treat it and act and live in it like a keva. Was the beer from Ruchnius is, what is the explanation of Ruchnius? The Klaus Elam Haze is doch nicht kein Keva. The whole world is not considered a Keva, it's not a permanent thing. Nar mer nit wie a Preisder. It's only, like we say in Pirkei Avos, it's only like a Preisder is a hallway. Und Elam nach Sadr Dema. Right, so Preisder to the Traklin. The Traklin is the place where the king sits, and you have the hallway to get to Elam Haba. But the whole Elam Haza is just a hallway. When Elam Achsadru Dema Gemuruches, the world is like a chsadr, like a porch, which has three walls surrounding it, but the fourth wall is opened. This is Ruch's famous. The dogmas as sukkah was is from Gimel Tfanis. Similar to sukkah, which could be 3 walls. And you see in the on the bottom, 14, Reish Mesach Sukkahs, Kedas Rabbanan, Stein Kil Chasum, or Shlisha da Filotafak Atafak is enough. And Lahar Metesa Shom Shatam de Rabbanan Lefish Sukkah Diris Are Beinam.
So it's two tefillos and one tefillah.
So it has also to do with Diris Are. So which means a sukkah represents the Elam Haza.
They are like
The Are, that it's something which is Are, something which is temporary. Oh, a house has 4 walls. Well, I think our meaning is to have 4 walls, right? It's going to be Kabbalah also. Ayid dar wissen as the inyanim Elam Hadas in a place in English Are. A person a Jew has to know that the worldly matters are temporary. When we get freer in the Pirush and Pneo Sukkahs, like we spoke earlier about the Mikneo, that those Gashmistic things which you just bought, or Gashmias, which are secondary, which are like not the person himself, they should be Sukkahs, they should be temporary. Aber durch dem Gufa, was in Yanim Agashim haben bei ihnen kein Tvisas Marking, through this itself, which the Gashmistic things don't have any Tvisas Marking, any place importance to them, und doch nutzt Zeh l'Shem Shemayim, Ader and Eifim Mechoder Chechadil, is Eise Sukkasei Keva, Mach Sukkasei Keva. So, which means that although the world itself is temporary, is something which a person shouldn't be important for itself, which means the world itself shouldn't, because of itself, shouldn't attract you, shouldn't be important to you. It shouldn't have any issues.
yeah, right.
The only reason why I want to deal with the world is in order to use it for Hashem, L'Shem Shemayim, to learn a lesson, to serve learn how to serve Hashem from there, to know Hashem. But it's not that I want the world because the world itself, because of the world, it's important. It's because Hashem is important. So because Hashem is important, so Hashem wants me to use the world out to serve Him. So
It's a postdoc.
it's a praiser. It's something second. It's temporary, but the point to make from the temporary something permanent. What's it mean? Something permanent. He's making from the things of the world, which they themselves are only like a sukkah. They're only something temporary. They're not important by themselves. You make it a house, a house for Hashem. It says that Hashem wanted to have a house in this world. So when you're making it a house for Hashem, you're making a keva for Hashem. You're making you're making a kviyas. So on one hand, the sukkah is adi, is temporary. The world is temporary, it's not important. But on the other hand, you're supposed to use the sukkah and make a kviyas. You're supposed to use it, make it important. You're supposed to make it important for Hashem, make it a house for Hashem, a permanent place for Hashem. This is the second pshat on Mekneos Sukkahs. Earlier we said on Meknei was referring to Gashmias, those things which you bought, which are extra to you. You should make them like which are Gashmias. You should make them unimportant. They shouldn't be important to you. But there's another pshat from the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe says, "Ayid payel as regili from mechinas maket the sukkah zol meir zayin oich in mikneu in the machalim shleichu." Which means also in the physical, also over there should be the sukkah. Mikneo, he's saying, means physical. He had possessions, he had cattle, that's what Yaakov had. Physical things, his food. Food which he eats, he should make it a sukkah. Over there, you should bring down the makif of sukkah. Sukkah represents this infinite light of Hashem that'll even into the food. You should also use it out, L'Shem Shemayim, to give you koyach, to learn, and to realize hashgacha pratis in everything you do. Umesadem was euch die dvarim agashim werden adir le yisparich is daite shaladim chulu makim is enesa. So because a person, the gashmistic things, because they become a place for Hashem, they become a conduit for Hashem, is this which we say in the Ilchos Eidavim. We say that a person, his mind is in the place of his food, is not because a person, physically, a person can say, why is a person's mind off on his food? Because he wants food, he wants to eat. It's not because the food itself, that's what he's running after. Right, so the real reason is because, like the Baal Shem Tov says, the person thinks that why is he a person thinks that why does he want food? Because he's hungry, because he has a taiva. So no, that's not the reason why. The real reason is because the neshama wants to eat the food and use it out, the koyach, to serve Hashem. That's the real reason. Thus it's poil on the guf that he should also want it. So a person should remember that. So that's the real reason why a person wants the mazaynus of it. The Baal does that inyan from daitechul makas einesa kum to the form of some meknei also sukkis. Why does a person want his food over there? It's because he wants to bring out Hashem over there. He wants to bring out the gili of Sukkah, the infinite light of Sukkah. Which we said in the beginning that all the Yidden are one when it comes to this infinite light of Sukkah. So also on your physical gashmis. You don't have to leave now when you don't have to leave your body and your physical things in order to have access with another Yid. If you're going to use out your gashmias, also make that also heilig, also holy. You use it also for Hashem. This way, there's holiness in everything. This actus is in everything. We brought Hashem revealed in our gashmias. As Eichen Zeh sollen Yidden sein Wurden verbunden zwischen sich und der Vater ist Sukkah Ma'aref, therefore Sukkah is Ma'aref. It's a very interesting, fascinating thing that's it's just a story with Reb Levik, a story about a sukkah and about a Erev, and the Rebbe learns the whole thing up in Kabbalah, explaining that there must be a connection between sukkah and Eretz. It's an interesting thing, famous story about, that's what she says, that the Gashmis is secondary and the Ruchnius is important. So there's a Sicha which the Rebbe talks about it. The Rebbe also brings this famous story of the Mizrach Maggid. Mizrach Maggid, before he was known to be the great Mizrach Maggid, so he was still Talmud. He was by the Baal Shem Tov, but he was a Malamed. It was very poor, and nobody really knew about him. Nobody knew that he was a special person. So one time, one of the Chassidim of the Baal Shem Tov was by the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov gave him a letter to give to his Talmud Reb David. So because he's close to that town, he was nearby. So he comes over there, and he comes to the shtetl, and he asks if there's a Malamed Reb David. Nobody knows who he's talking about. Who's this person? He's looking. So finally, he must probably mean. So he goes to the street over there. It's the most poorest street of the whole shtetl. And the houses are Pasha Churban, and he comes to the house and he sees that he's teaching some kids, Kinderlach. They have a plank of wood, and they have two pieces of they have two chairs, like two pieces of wood for chairs, and he's teaching them. So he said that he's in the middle of teaching, so come back later. He come back later, and then he finished, and he sees that he made beds out of the same pieces of wood. He saw he was very, very poor. He told him he has a letter for him. He stood up, he washed his hands, he was all excited. And afterwards he was taken aback by how poor he was. He said, saying, "Where's your furniture?" He asked. Where's he didn't have it, just a few pieces of wood. Where's your furniture? So he said, may I ask, where's your furniture? So he said, where's my furniture? I'm just traveling. I'm on the way. My furniture is in the house. He says, me also, I'm just traveling right now. My furniture is in the house.
They tell this masa with the Chof Av was it's a rich lady from America or something, and she came and she asked, well, this is how you live. Well, she couldn't understand it, so he told her, what about you? She said, I'm trying, the same masa, into vegans.
The mice is about the
I'm
maggots.
also into vegans, I'm
They like taking over mice.
He said, in the next world is my furniture.
When they divided the soil, so they switched the order to Moshe Rabbeinu. What this says, they want to do in Chutz La'aretz the Ikar, which is the Tofel, they want to make Ikar. Moshe Rabbeinu says, no, that's not the way. It has to be a house and that's the soil, and over there make the Gashmi Soil. It's not in Chutz La'aretz.
Yeah. I wish we said that the world is Arai, and when Hashem comes making a house for Hashem, Kavua, we say the world. So there's a Sicha. This Sicha is based on two Sichas. So in Simcha De'Sheva Tafshin Gimel, so there's a little more, explains a little more. He says that the world is so Arai that it's not even Arai. What's it mean, something a sukkah? A sukkah is here for a certain amount of time, 7 days, and afterwards it stops. But when it's here, it's here. Sorry. But the world, we know that Al-Shantiv says that every single second the world has to be continuously created by Hashem. If Hashem is going to stop creating it, which means Hashem said, Hashem said, Yihir, Yirikiya. So these Isis of Hashem, these remain inside the world and they keep giving chayes. If these Isis would go away for 1 second, the world would be ayin efes, the world would be nothing, like it never existed. So every single second has to be continuously created. In other words, the world never became an independent existence. It's like saying like this. On Sunday, a stone was on the floor. Monday, you threw the stone. You threw the stone. Tuesday, the stone was on the floor. On Tuesday, could you say that yesterday or Monday, the stone became a flying stone?
Nope.
You can't say the stone became a flying stone. Why? Because this that it was flying wasn't because it's flying. It's because the person threw it. The chayes and the koyach of the person was pushing the stone to stay up against gravity to keep it up. But the moment that the koyach stopped, so then it would fall on the floor. So you could say even when it was flying, it never really was flying because of itself. It never became a stone which flies. So also, the world really can't exist. It's like a stone. A stone doesn't really fly. By nature, the world cannot exist. This that it exists is every second through the koyach of Hashem. So the world never became an independent existence, never became an existence for itself. It never happened. So it's not only that the world, after 6,000 worlds, you can say that's it, it's over, and beforehand there wasn't. Even when it is, it never really became an existing thing. So it's a Arai. It's more than Arai. Arai is a taich in our world. If you have something here, a sukkah for 7 days, it is here for 7 days. But the world is even less than that. It's not even Arai because it's even when it's here, it's not really here as an independent thing for itself. On the other hand, Hashem is the Amitis and Metzius, like the Rambam says. He's a true Metzius, which means Hashem is not dependent on anything in order to be here. Hashem is here because He's here. He doesn't have to. There's no condition or nothing He's the real Metzius. He's the real Kava. He's the real permanent. There's nothing more permanent than Hashem. He's the real Kava. So when you take the world itself, you have to look at it as like an Arai. You have to look at it. You have to see that the world is just something which is not important. What's the world? There's no importance to the world. It's not something which really exists over here. Look. And what? And you use that out for Hashem. You bring Hashem and make a place for Hashem in here. It means you're taking a garnish and you're making it into a keva. You're bringing Hashem into here. You're making it into Metzias. Making the Metzias. Like the sukkah. On one hand, it's Are, and the world even more than Are. And and on the other hand, it has to be keva. You have to make it this permanent place. You have to use it out. You have to use it out as a permanent thing. Another interesting thing is also in the other Sicha, Chof Av, Tavshin Yebeis. So over there, the Rebbe says, yes, that every Yid, we said that in order to become one with another Yid, we have to the first step obviously is we have to make Gashmis not as important. Gashmis shouldn't be as important to us. Should be the Titus and everything shouldn't be so important. And the Ruchni should be the main thing. That's the first step. Once the Ruchni is important, and afterwards, once the Ruchni is important, so now you could use out the Gashmias for Hashem. Through that, he said, it comes Achdus. Every Yid, even in the Gashmias, the things that come one. So he said, every Yid becomes one with the Rebbe. Or also comes one with the Rebbe. When you have Achdus, the Rebbe is also included, right? He's also a Yid. And especially, it says also that Yidin which have like a Kohen Gadol or a Melech or something, they're able to be Meitzi, all the Yidin, and their mitzvahs. They have certain mitzvahs, and they're able to be Meitzi everyone else. We see they have a special connection to all the Yidin, Klolos Yidin, Yidin which have the Shama Klolis, have Neshama, they have a special, more Achdus. So there could be two ways of connecting, of having a connection with the Rebbe. One way is you could start off with the skafia and being careful of learning a lot of chassidus, learning a lot of Torah, making Ruchni is the main thing by you, thinking about Hashem, main thing is Ruchni is by you, and then Gashmias is secondary, and then eventually you're able to become one also with the Rebbe. Another way is that even if we're, let's say, we're not exactly the most spiritual people, but we could start off by connecting to the Rebbe, and when we connect to the Rebbe, so he gives us the Rebbe gives us koyach and the power to be able to be able to, and also this, that we listen to whatever the hero is, we listen to what he tells us to do, we try the best to do what he asks us, so that makes it easier for us to make our titles, our ruchnis more important. That helps us make our ruchnis more important. He gives us the power through connecting to a Yid, because the Rebbe is a Yid, which ruchnis is the main thing by him. Ruchnis, Hashem is important by him. Gash is not important by him. And he's holding by this level. He's holding by this. So when we connect to such a Jew, so that helps us also reach that level, even though we're not exactly so to elevate ourselves. To even if we're the lowest level, to lift us up like to jump, a big jump, to bring us to a high level, and to be able to connect with all the Yidden, and to bring us all together. And this is when everyone's connected. So then obviously the Achdus brings Mashiach. Of course, that's the Tachlis. Achdus with Hashem and Achdus with every Yid. This is Achdus Yisrael and Achdus with Eibishter.
Also the Sukkahs, you take the full meaning, you bring it to the Sukkah. The full meaning. All four categories of Jewish people.
For minimum, yeah.
It's four different. Nevertheless, only when you united them together, then you could bring them into the Sukkah, make the Boch. Otherwise, you can have 10 Sogim, you can make the Boch.
Yeah.
You can have 10 Arovas, you can make the Boch. You must have the united. Then you make a Boch. That's the concept of the Sukkah, the Savior. You only could do Savior if we are one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not a lie. It's not a right. It's like a bite. Also, it says if somebody made a sukkah and he left it over here, of course it's a sukkah. He has money, he has a porch, it's okay. When it comes to sukkah, it doesn't help him. You must take this up and lift it up and put it down. Even, a little bit with the broom. Why?
The food.
Why? To show you that you don't have something here. I don't care what you have, you don't have something here. Otherwise, you can sit in the sukkah.
Awesome, yeah. So Reb Levik Kiyadua was a Rav in Shtat. In the beginning there was another Rav, and then so eventually he became the Rav. He was the Rav Yekaterinslav, and because he was spreading Yiddishkeit, and there was even after communism started, he still was continuing to spread Yiddishkeit. And there was even a lot of stories. A story of that one time they needed a 10th person to make a chuppah, and you weren't allowed to make a chuppah then. And he had a neighbor, which was officially hired to spy on him.
Security guard.
Communist.
The job was to be a security guard to see what's going on in the building.
So, but he was a Yid, so they needed a 10th Yid. The Levik told him that nobody wanted to call him. The Levik said, "To call him and make the chuppah." Made the chuppah, and he was misaited to the tshuva.
Yeah.
He was very strong. He didn't. This famous story about the Rebbe always says over about the matzahs. That's in the beginning they didn't want to make as if they're against Yiddishkeit. They wanted to make like everyone's that everything's fine. They wanted to tell the world that we allow religion. So no, that's what the Frierdiker Rebbe also. The Frierdiker Rebbe also wanted. They wanted before the Frierdiker Rebbe was in prison. They also wanted him to make a big meeting, to be part of a big asifa of Rabbanim, and that the Rabbanim themselves are going to be forced to say that to be mevat a lot of inyan with Yiddishkeit. So it means that the Rabbanim themselves are saying that they don't need these religious things. So they want to make like everything's from the Rabbanim, and they allow religion. So they wanted Reb Levik to sign that everything's fine, that we allow religion and everything. Now in there, Yekaterinslav was a place where the wheat so that's where the matzahs were made. Because in the beginning comes a lot of old Yidden wanted matzah. So they didn't want Reb Levik being a mashgiach over there, because if he's going to be mashgiach, he's obviously going to say a lot of things are not exactly, a lot of wheat can't be used. So the government's going to lose a lot of money from this. So so he went to Kalinin, was the vice president, because officially they say you're allowed to do religion. So he went down and he was payal, and actually that everything that they say you should listen to whatever Rabbi Schneerson says. Whatever he says, goes. It comes to the matzah. And it was a big sakana to do that, because the government, everything belonged to the government. The government was going to lose a lot of money from it. But he was payal that there should be kasher and matzah in the whole crane, all around. So safe. Due to the ma'aseh, he was put in jail, and after they saw him, even though he knew he might come and put into jail, he still had Mesiras Nefesh to help Yidden. Even though in jail he wasn't able to do everything, and then he was for like a year. He was in jail, different jails, and then eventually he was in exile for 5 years in a place where they didn't speak even his language. Near Chile, near a suburb of Alma-Ata, yeah. And then
a place that even cockroach people.
They didn't speak even the language, and it was very poor, and it was if you read
the house made from mud.
Sicha wrote they put out her diary of what happened, and basically after all those years, after Pesach, he was brought to the Alma, to the main city, which there was some Chassidim over there, and he still was speaking strong against the government and everything, but he unfortunately became sick after Sukkot. They found he was very sick, and Chof Av, he passed away. Because after all the year, he was partially suffered, he didn't have food, didn't have everything, and he became sick. So he passed away. So that's because of his Mesiras Nefesh. That's the reason why he passed away, and he passed away 66 years old. And Chof Av Tafshin Dalet. Lerner, now we should do learn from him. We should help out.
Today, big Chabad house next to his
Yeah.
Yeah.